And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
All right, welcome to aviation weather, and the first graphic here showing Friday morning IFR, Brooks Range out to the Arctic Ocean. IFR also here across the eastern interior, Tanana Valley, Fairbanks, and Nenana, right on down to the Alaska Range into the Talkeetnas and the Matanuska Valley, Turnagain Arm area, IFR, North Gulf Coast into the Panhandle, VFR, Kodiak Island here into southern Cook Inlet, actually all of Cook Inlet here, marginal VFR into the southern Susitna Valley with marginal VFR around Turnagain Arm up to Knik Arm around Anchorage there. And then pretty good VFR here over the western interior, some marginal conditions here over the southwest. And Bering Sea, mostly IFR out west, mostly marginal to the east. That includes the Fox Islands and Alaska Peninsula, Seward Peninsula, mostly marginal VFR. And for the afternoon, not much change here over the Chukchi Sea southward with marginal VFR now spreading into the Yukon Delta, Kuskokwim Delta, mostly VFR, Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island, Kuskokwim Valley VFR, and VFR in the increase here over south central Alaska. But marginal VFR from about the Chugach Mountains becomes IFR over the Talkeetnas and the western Copper River Basin, actually eastward to about Golcana, Copper Center there, and IFR for the Arctic coast down to the Brooks Range. IFR here with another system out over the Bering Sea that extends down to Adak and Atka. Improving here over the southeast coast with VFR breaking out, Prince of Wales Island, as well as the inside water areas. And then for Saturday morning, first day of the weekend, no change up here to the north with IFR conditions for the Brooks Range all the way out to the coast, and IFR here from the northeast interior right down into the central Alaska Range. And again, just a narrow band now across the Talkeetnas and then the North Gulf Coast in across the northern Panhandle with marginal VFR becoming mostly VFR there toward the south, toward Dixon Entrance. Pretty good areas of VFR here over the interior, especially Kodiak Island now into Cook Inlet and the Susitna Valley with marginal VFR, eastern Bering Sea, IFR to the west. And for the afternoon, big improvement out here over the western Bering, that IFR fading away, becoming just marginal conditions there. For all of the Aleutian chain into the areas of the Alaska Peninsula, north, right through the Bering Strait, catching the western Seward Peninsula, some marginal VFR there still for the Yukon Delta, Chukchi Sea marginal VFR, but the IFR now pulling off the Arctic coast, so some improvement there with VFR breaking out in the forecast for the afternoon for the North Slope. And for the southeast coast, good VFR. Anatuvik and Atigan, look for a couple more days of IFR flying conditions in those two passes, especially tomorrow. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, though, VFR. Rainy, starting out marginal, becoming VFR. Windy, starting out IFR, becoming marginal VFR, so with some improvement there. Slow, though. And for Isabel, IFR the entire day. Mintasta, marginal VFR with better conditions, VFR conditions actually to the north. And Tanita, IFR at times. Portage, IFR, trending toward marginal VFR into the afternoon toward evening. And Chilkoot and White, IFR. Freezing levels here, cool air now down in across all the western part of the state, 2,000 feet here right across Norton Sound in toward the western Alaska Range, 4,000 feet down to the Alaska Peninsula area, and about 6,000 feet now over the eastern North Gulf Coast. And freezing levels continue to fall here across the central and southern Panhandle. Tomorrow morning's down to 6,000 to 8,000 feet, and about 6,000 to 8,000 feet for the southern Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Icing, look for possible considerable moderate rime icing here up along the western Arctic coast areas there with just some isolated moderate into the Brooks Range, possibly southwestward into the Kobuk Valley out toward Kotzebue there. Bering Sea, a little bit of icing possible, some weak disturbances out here, but nothing too significant, mostly only affecting the Pribilof Islands. And for the Copper River Basin there, look for some considerable moderate icing as well. as areas from Yakutat down in toward Elfin Cove. And for the jet stream here, 3 areas of upper level low pressure, again at 33,000 feet. And the colder air coming down, pushing the jet off to the east here, still cutting across the southern panhandle there, up to about 110 knots or so. To the west here, just grazing the Atka over toward the eastern Aleutians, but the stronger core here just to the south at about 115 knots. And for the 9,000 foot wind flow chart here, not much going on, just light 25 knot northerly winds there for the western Aleutians. Northwest maybe as high as 30 knots in a narrow band there just southwest of Cape Newenham, kind of diminishing as it reaches the peninsula. And some 30 knot winds around that low up over the western Brooks Range, about 25 here, a narrow band of south-southwesterlies into Prince William Sound, only 25 knots there. And maybe 35 knot winds here for the the far eastern North Gulf Coast there into the northern panhandle. 3,000 feet, even less in the way of any significant winds. Just a narrow band here of 35 knot winds right along the North Gulf Coast into Prince William Sound out of the southeast there, east-southeast, swinging around low pressure area right in this area here just south of Resurrection Bay. So we've got some light northwest winds there for the Barren Islands and maybe southern Kodiak Island. South 25 for the North Gulf Coast of the Panhandle. High pressure, light winds for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And from there, looking at that, not much in the way of any significant turbulence going on around the state here. Just some light to isolated, moderate possible Prince William Sound, the North Gulf Coast. Barren Islands into Kamishak Bay. Again, that'd be for small aircraft here and also for southern Kodiak Island.